Now check for the audio, whether audio and video is clear. Please check for the audio. Yeah, okay, fine. That's nice. Okay, good afternoon to you all. So in the last class, I think we have seen till Forest Conservation Act, am I right? We saw Indian Forest Act and Forest Conservation Act. So I think we have to see this COMPA. Okay, now we will get into the next one. COMPA. So COMPA stands for Compensatory Afforestation Management COMPA stands for Compensatory Afforestation Management and Planning Authority. Compensatory Afforestation Management and Planning Authority. That is for COMPA. That's called COMPA. Okay, see, so last class we discussed about the Forest Conservation Act. So the Forest Conservation Act objective is any forest land diverted for non-forest purpose, okay, it has to be controlled. So, but anyway, today what we do is we normally divert some of the forest land for some development projects or some development activity. And when you divert that land, probably we are selling that land to some corporates or any government organization. Now for that particular land, which was acquired by the corporate, so they pay money. So now that money, how do you use it? That money is called compensatory afforestation money. That money is a compensatory money, or I will say that compensatory afforestation fund. So those corporates who acquire the forest land for any non-forest purpose, for any development project, they pay a compensation to the government for the forest land. So it can be a few lakhs or crores or something. So that money is called compensatory afforestation fund. So what we need to do is very simple. Suppose assume this is a forest. So I'm going to acquire some 50 acres of forest land. So now for this 50 acres of forest land, the money will be transferred to the government by the corporate. So those who acquire it. So now with that money, what we need to do is we need to find another land. Probably we need to increase the forest cover. So whatever we are losing here, whatever we are losing in this region, that we need to go for a compensatory afforestation. All right, we need to reconstruct it. That is called the compensatory afforestation. So here, very long back, what happened? You see, the money which was collected as a compensatory afforestation was more than 60,000 crores. So the central government and of course the state government have received approximately 60,000 crores for selling the forest land. And it's not clear how this money is being spent or how the money was being spent. So that is the reason when this case went to the Supreme Court said that please create ad hoc COMPA, a planning authority. Now transfer that money to the planning authority, or the planning authority will decide how this money has to be spent. Because before that, we got more, of course, the 60,000 crores of money, whatever we got it for the compensatory afforestation, we are not very clear. The public is not very clear how the money is being spent, where it is being spent. So that is the reason, in order to have more clarity, in order to have more transparency and accountability, the Supreme Court initially said that to create a COMPA. So the COMPA will tell how the money has to be shared between the center and the state, and how the state has to use that money. So most of the time, the state has to use the money for reconstruction of the forest. Okay, and forest management, that is nothing but compensatory afforestation. That is how it started with the COMPA. And later point of time, the government by 2016, they passed the act itself, because the need of the act is very high, because today a lot of forest land is diverted for non-forest purpose. So now more money is, we're receiving. So in the fund, probably, as I told you, 60,000 crores are there, and every year 6,000 crores of money is received in the compensatory afforestation. So that is what this money has to be properly utilized and properly distributed. So that is the reason the government of India decided to create a separate act for this compensatory afforestation money, that is called COMPA Act. Okay, now the COMPA Act, what says is the provisions of the COMPA Act. So the COMPA Act says that so there should be one central COMPA office authority, that is compensatory afforestation management and planning authority, and for every state government there should be state COMPA. Just a minute. So for central government, the central government authority is the central COMPA, and the state, for every state government there will be a state COMPA which is appointed by the state government. And then you have to create, under this provision, we have to create a compensatory afforestation fund. So there will be, for the central government, there is a central CAF. For the state government, there will be a state CAF. Now it has to be opened under Public Accounts of India. That is State Public Accounts of India for the state government. So we need to create a fund for central government. We need to create a fund for state government. Sorry, for the compensatory afforestation. The central government is called the Central Government Compensatory Afforestation Fund, which is opened under the Public Accounts of India. And for every state government, so there will be a state government compensatory afforestation fund, which is opened by under the state public accounts. Okay, so now whatever the money we receive for any forest land acquisition, that money, entire money, has to go to the central COMPA, that is central CAF. So whatever the money that is received from the corporates or anyone who acquired the forest land, the entire money has to go to the central government, that is central CAF. Now what the central CAF will do is, central CAF will take 90% of the fund and it will distribute 90% of the fund. 10% of the fund central CAF will take it, and 90% of the fund, okay, it will distribute to all the state COMPA, that is state CAF. Okay, so now in this there will be a complete safety, security and transparency. So there will be complete transparency and accountability. Most of the time the money will be kept in the nationalized bank. Money will be kept in the nationalized bank. Okay, that is one. Second is where the state government can use the money. So here the COMPA Act says that the state government can use the money. So they can use the money, they can use the money for, yes, afforestation, but not only for afforestation, they can also use it for wildlife management, of course, soil moisture treatment, soil moisture conservation. That is, for any forest conservation they can use. And apart from that, catchment area treatment, etc. So the COMPA Act says that the money it's not only used for afforestation, it can also be used for some wildlife management, it can also be used for soil moisture conservation and other forest related activity, even for fire protection and everything. So that is what the act itself says. Okay, and apart from that, the central COMPA periodically they have to create an expert committee. They have to create expert committee for calculating NPV, net present value. For calculating NPV, net present value. Net present value. See what the net present value is. For example, assume it's a forest region. So now you are acquiring this land. Okay, what would be the cost of this land? We need to fix a value. See, if it is a land like in cities or in rural or urban, probably you know that it is based on the market force. For example, in Chennai, Bombay, Bangalore, Trivandrum, if you take a land, Delhi or something, the land cost is based on the market forces, am I right? Demand and supply. But how can you calculate for forest land? You cannot go by demand and supply and all. So that is what, in order to calculate the forest cost, the central government periodically has to appoint expert committee to calculate this net present value. Net present value is nothing but, so what is the cost of the forest land? Okay, so that is one thing. Now the CAMPA, which was created by 2016, has got into lot of controversy, lot of debate and controversy. The reason is, there are two reasons they say. The first reason, most of the forest activists, they say that this money is used for many purposes, okay, which is totally wrong. Suppose you are acquiring a land, you are cutting the forest. Now what you need to do is, you need to create another forest area. Then only you can bring our forest cover to 33%. Because by 1960, we created an Indian forest policy. In the forest policy, we want to bring our forest cover to 33%. That is what. So today, most of the country, developing country and rich country have crossed more than 33. Some countries have crossed more than 40-50% also. But India, even though 1960 we created this policy, we were able to only bring 23-24%. That's it. So we are not even able to touch 33%. So in this context, if you are further cutting down the forest, yes, you need to give more focus for the afforestation. So many experts say that better try to spend the money for afforestation rather than spending the money on other thing. Because you are cutting the money, you are cutting the forest. Okay, fine. You need to plant the forest. That is how it has to be. So if you are spending the money rather than, okay, afforestation, if you are spending for some other purpose, then the Indian forest cover will come down. That is a one accusation it is there. The second accusation, some experts, they don't accept the concept itself, because cutting the forest itself is a blood money. So normally they call this entire money is a blood money. Whatever, the 60,000 crores or 6,000 crores every year, what we get is a blood money, because you are cutting the forest and getting the money. So you should not allow the forest region, okay, or you should not allow any private or corporate to cut the forest. So that is what another criticism comes. The third criticism is, in this, the local people involvement is not there. No local people involvement. That is, this money will be used directly by the forest official. So the forest official will decide how to use this money. So in this, local people involvement does not seem to work out. So that's what they say, that local people should also be involved in that thing, so that they will also decide how the money has to be used and how the money has to be, where and all the money has to be used, so that they will also get some employment opportunity and everything. So that is what the criticism on this CAMPA Act. Okay, that is about CAMPA. The last one is Forest Right Act. Forest Right Act. So it is also called as Scheduled Tribes and Traditional Dwellers. Scheduled Tribes and Traditional Dwellers Right Act. Scheduled Tribes and Traditional Dwellers Right Act. Okay. See, today in India, 66% of the forest land, so approximately 2/3 of the forest land, comes under the tribal area. Comes under the tribal area. Okay. And if you take this tribal people, so we have two types of people. One is the scheduled tribes. The second is the traditional dweller. So they have been staying there for many years. Okay, from their forefathers, probably they would have been, surviving in the forest. Most of the time, they do not know any other activity other than forest activity. So they go collect certain things from the forest, like non-timber forest produce and all, and then they survive inside the forest. Probably apart from that, they may have some livestock and grazing, livestock and agriculture activity like that they may have. So now, if you take during the Britain period, 1927, they created an Indian Forest Act. The main purpose of the Indian Forest Act itself is to protect the forest resource. So the Britain wants to completely control the forest resource, and at the same time, they don't want anyone to get into the forest. So that is what the Indian Forest Act controls, that movement of any transit of goods or people in and out of the forest. So it is a completely draconian act. Okay, it's a very powerful act. So it does not give right to others. So after the independence also, even though we came to know that 2/3 of the tribal people stays inside the forest, we didn't give any right. So that is what it is, a historical injustice we have done. So now, because of that reason, what happens, you see, if you take a forest region, so most of the forest region comes under the Indian Forest Act. The forest official has a power under the Indian Forest Act. So according to the Indian Forest Act, no people can stay inside the forest, no people can take any resource inside the forest. But if you take this tribal people, traditional ruler and all, generally they only survive on the forest. So whenever they go inside the forest, when they stay and all, when they stay, suppose they stay inside the forest and all, sometimes the forest official used to come and harass them. So that is what, there was a lot of injustice, historical injustice happened. So in order to remove this historical injustice, by 2006, the government of India declared an act which is called Forest Right Act. That is the Scheduled Tribe and Traditional Dweller Rights Act. Okay, in the forest. Okay, so what is the provision? So the provision is, first is, there are 4 rights they have, basically. The first right is ownership rights. So anyone stays inside the forest, they can have a land, they can have a ownership of land. So ownership rights, they can have a ownership of land for maximum 4 hectares. Maximum 4 hectares. Okay. So that means if a tribal man has 6 hectares, then up to 4 hectares he can keep, 2 hectares he has to surrender to the government. If a tribal man has got 2 hectares, that's it. So it does not mean that the government will give another 2 hectares. No. So maximum anyone can hold 4 hectares of land. Okay. Second is use right. Now they can go inside the forest, they can take the resources. So the right has been provided. So here, what resources they can take is, they can take a resource which is called MFP, minor forest produce. Minor forest produce. Minor forest produce. Okay, so some of the minor forest produce, like honey, some like bamboos, so that and all will come under the MFP. So they will give the list of MFP, so that MFP they can take without the permission. They have a complete rights for it. Okay. The third one is, they have a relief right. That is, they can stay inside the forest, but in certain circumstances, they may not be allowed to stay inside. Probably they may have to stay in the buffer zone or outside the forest region. So in that case, we need to provide them compensation. We need to provide a land. We need to provide them source of livelihood and compensation, and relief has to be done. Rehabilitation has to be done. So that is something called relief right. That should also be there. Then the fourth one is forest management rights. Okay, that is, so they also have the right to protect the forest and wildlife. So they have to protect the forest and wildlife. Most of the time they will get employed by the forest officials, forest department, for helping the forest official in terms of poaching, control poaching, in terms of some activity, forest related activity, or in terms of controlling the forest fire. So for all this activity, okay, they may take the help of this tribal people. That is what, to protect wildlife. So these are the 4 types of right they have: the ownership right, the use right, the relief right, and the forest management right. So here the eligibility is, who is eligible to stay inside the forest? The eligibility is, either he should be a member of scheduled tribe, in that particular region, or he should have been stayed there for 75 years. So he should be able to bring 75 years, a proof of 75 years. Okay, so that is what the eligibility comes like: scheduled tribe, or he should be a native of the particular region for the last 75 years. Okay, so now we have given the right to them, but despite of that, this right is not completely realized. So last year, I think there was a petition to the Supreme Court that many people, okay, without a license, they are staying inside the forest. A petition went to the Supreme Court stating that many people are staying inside the forest without a license. Then immediately Supreme Court called all the chief secretaries of the state, and Supreme Court gave an order that these people who stay inside the forest without the license has to be removed immediately. If that is the case, so more than 2 million scheduled tribe and traditional dweller have to be evicted. That these are the genuine people, but they have to be evicted. That is what it seems, that there are many genuine scheduled tribe traditional dweller, even though they are genuine, they are not able to get their license. So that means this act is not working properly. Okay, we will see that what are the problems we have related to this act. The first and foremost is, if you see how to apply the license, see, applying a license itself is a very tedious process. It's a very tedious process. So the process comes like this. First, the tribal man or a traditional dweller has to approach the Gram Sabha. First, he has to fill the application to the Gram Sabha. So from the Gram Sabha, the application will go to the Taluk. Okay, from the Taluk, the application will go to the district. So from the district, the application will go to the screening committee. The application will go to the screening committee. So actually in the screening committee, 3 officers will be there. The one officer will be a forest officer. The second officer is a revenue officer. The third officer is a tribal officer. Because it is a welfare related to tribal and traditional dweller. So that's the reason 3 officers will be there. So 3 officers will be there. Okay, so now you see the process comes like this. You need to go to Gram Sabha, then Taluk, then district, then screening committee. So a little bit of long procedure. So in this, what happens, you see, applications are getting rejected. That is high rejection rate. High rejection rate. So of course, if you see the claims, it is only 40% is only getting approved. That is, if 100 tribal people apply it, 100 tribal or traditional dweller apply it, in that only 40 tribal people application is getting approved, 60 is getting rejected. Okay, so why it is getting rejected? If you ask me, most of the time the claim is getting rejected without reason. They will not tell what is the reason for the rejection. So that is a problem comes. Okay, so most of the claim will get rejected without reason. Okay, and even if you ask for a reason, most of the time they will say lack of evidence. That is, these people are not able to prove themselves as a scheduled tribe in that particular region, or these people are not able to prove that they stay as a traditional dweller. That is, they stay there for more than 75 years. So for that, they need to submit a document. So whatever the document they keep, most of the time the document the government may not accept it. The officers, the 3 screening committee may not accept it. Because of that, most of the claims are getting rejected. Okay, now once it is getting rejected, okay, you can appeal for it. So that is something called right to appeal. Now here, right to appeal is discouraged. Right to appeal is discouraged. So why it is discouraged means most of the time here, if you take this particular act, this entire act is under the tribal ministry. This Forest Right Act is not under the Ministry of Environment, it is under the Ministry of Forest. But this act is under the tribal ministry, but it has to be implemented in the forest department. So that is where the lack of coordination comes. Because if you take a forest official, the forest official is obliged to only to the Indian Forest Act. I'm right. So he has to be more concerned about the Indian Forest Act. So he will go only with the Indian Forest Act. If you take a Forest Right Act, it is a tribal ministry act. So he is not much responsible for it. So that is what this lack of coordination is another biggest problem. And whenever they apply, the right to appeal is also discouraged. And more important is, of course, it is the forest official. They only most of the time reject it. So forest official, what they do is they always cite some menial reason for rejection. Forest official cites menial reason, MENIAL, menial reason for rejection. Okay, what is the menial reason is? Generally, the forest official blame that these tribal people are responsible for deforestation. These tribal people are responsible for poaching, engaging in criminal activity, in collision with criminals, and also they are the one who is responsible for forest fire. Okay, they do activity which is prejudicial to wildlife. So like that, lot of accusation. Generally, the forest official used to keep it on the tribal people and the traditional dweller, and that is what most of the time they ensure that they does not stay. Even if you take a tiger reserve, so we have a core zone, buffer zone, right? There's a core zone, it's a buffer zone. So generally, according to the Forest Right Act, they can even stay inside the core zone. But most of the time, the forest official will ensure that they does not stay inside it. They only stay outside the core zone. That is in the buffer zone. Okay, so that is how this particular act is not able to realize. And also the one more thing is lack of political will. So that is, this act is not in harmony with COMPA Act or Indian Forest Act. Because you see, Indian Forest Act. So if you take Indian Forest Act, bamboo is coming under the tree category. So now the forest official will say that tribal people should not cut the bamboo. But whereas under the Forest Right Act, the bamboo comes under the minor forest produce. That means they can cut it. But this entire Indian Forest Right Act is coming under the tribal ministry, whereas the Indian Forest Act comes under the Environment Ministry. Now, forest official will give more preference to the Indian Forest Act than the Forest Right Act. So that is what, if you are doing some changes, if you are bringing some rights, if you are doing some changes in the Forest Right Act, parallelly you should have also done some changes in the Indian Forest Act. That they didn't do. Even now, few minutes back, we discussed about the COMPA. Even if you take a COMPA, even in the COMPA also, this local people involvement is not there. So that is what it itself shows, that the political will is also not present properly. Okay, these are the main problems right now with the Forest Right Act. Okay, so that is about it. So any doubts? I think this act was passed in 2006, I think so. Just a minute. See, normally, generally, if they are able to prove their scheduled tribe, just a minute. So whether they are able to, some ST who live in the forest ancestrally and get any job and go to the city, are they allowed to hold land in forest? Normally they will be allowed to hold the land, but such situation is going to be very, very marginal. Because if he is going to work in the city, definitely city will be very far away from the forest. So definitely he will not stay inside the forest, he will be moving out. But yes, if they are able to prove themselves as a scheduled tribe, and 75 years, if they are able to, if they are able to prove that they stay there for 75 years, they can hold the resource. That's not an issue. But most of the time, it is a preference that they have to stay inside the forest. No, we cannot. Why there are two acts, Forest Right Act and Indian. See, Indian Forest Act is totally different. It is controlling the forest resources. Okay, it talks about the duties and levies. Okay, that is given on given on the on the forest produce. So that is totally different. Forest Right Act is something we are giving rights for the scheduled tribe and traditional dweller. So we cannot merge it. See, CAMPA, Indian Forest Act, both comes under the Ministry of Environment. Forest Right Act comes under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Indian Forest Act only, it was passed in 1927. It's a very old act. See, what is the lack of coordination is, again, I'm telling you, see, if you take this Forest Right Act is coming under the Tribal Ministry. Okay. But it has to be implemented in the Forest Department, which is under the Ministry of Environment. Am I right? So here, most of the responsibility will be with the tribal officer. Because the Forest Right Act, since it comes under the tribal ministry, the tribal officer, it is a tribal officer responsibility to provide the rights for the tribal people or traditional dweller inside the forest. Okay, but the forest resources are controlled by the Forest Department. The forest official is totally different. Am I right? So that's what. So here we will have this, coordination issue. Okay. That is about the biodiversity. So our third model, biodiversity, is over. Okay. Screening committee. See, screening committee, under the screening committee, there will be 3 officers. So screening committee, the act says there should be a screening committee. The screening committee should clear the license. So here there will be 3 officers: tribal officer, forest officer, and of course an officer from collectorate, that is nothing but revenue officer. So 3 officers will sit together and they have to clear. So in this, the forest officer only most of the time, so they give some they blame the tribal people. Okay. Yes, it's whether both the act are in conflict. I will not say it's in conflict. It is not in harmony. See, when you are bringing, for example, when you bring Forest Right Act, if you give tribal people certain rights, tribal people and traditional people certain right inside the forest, accordingly, you should have done some amendment in the Indian Forest Act. If you fail to do that amendment, then there is no use at all. That is what I mean. Okay. Okay, whether I've told you anything on joint forest management. Okay, so the last one in the biodiversity, let's see what is this joint forest management, JFM. See, today if you take forest land, so we have more than 23% of forest land. Now, is it possible for the forest official alone to control the entire forest resource? So no, am I right? So forest official alone cannot, maintain the forest. So we also need the help of tribal people. So we need the help of tribal people and local people. So that is traditional dwellers. So that is the reason what they have done is we have brought a concept what is called JFM. So joint forest management. So it is developing a partnership between the forest department and the local people. That is local forest people. Okay, so normally if you take inside a forest, you may have a lot of activity. For example, you have to do for afforestation. Okay, you have to plant the tree, you need to cut the certain trees, you need to clear something, you need to lay a road inside. So probably you may also, construct a pond. Okay, sometime because elephants and all needs a lot of water. So like that inside the forest, again, a lot of poaching is happening. We need someone to monitor the poaching. So, and when a fire comes, we need someone to, coordinate with the forest official to control the fire. So we have a lot of forest related activity. So now for this activity, definitely government, that is the forest official, cannot do it. So they need laborers. So where they can go to the local people. So in the joint forest management, they will form a committee which is called Joint Forest Management Committee, JFMC. So it is registered under the Societies Act. So in the JFMC, some of the local Gram Sabha leaders will be there, and also 1 or 2 forest officials will also be in this committee. Now, this committee, what they will do is, they will distribute all the forest related work to the local people. That is employment. It is nothing but employment they will give. So for this, they will provide, the Joint Forest Management Committee, the local people will be provided this resources, NTFP, non-timber forest produce. Like, honey, that and all comes under non-timber, because timber we will not give it. Timber is very costly. So that is the reason for the entire Joint Forest Management Committee. So they will provide this non-timber forest produce. Now the forest people, the local people, tribal people, they can go inside and they can take the non-timber forest produce and they can sell it for their employment purpose. At the same time, even in the timber sales also, we give some percentage to the local people. So the government is giving some percentage from the timber sales. So now this money, of course, this NTFP and this money, what happens, you see, it goes to the local people so that it provides them employment. In turn, it reduces poverty. Otherwise, what happens, you see, it is a win-win situation. So now spending the money. So see, every year the government of India is allocating money to the forest department. So now a lot of forest related activity and all. So for that activity, now labor we need. So that labor, most of the time we hire from the local people, tribal people. So in turn, we provide them employment, poverty is reduced. And apart from that, we provide them non-timber forest produce. Okay, non-timber forest produce is like something like some list of non-timber forest produce is there. They can take it, they can sell it. And even the timber sales also, we give some percentage. So that both will get forest department. In turn, what the local people have to do is, the local people should protect the forest. They should help to control the fire. They should help to control the poaching, okay, grazing activity, illegal harvesting and all. They should not do it. And in turn, they should also help the forest official. So that is what it's a win-win situation. At the same time, once you provide the employment, poverty is reduced. Generally, for tribal people will not get into the hands of Naxalites. All right, insurgents, they will not get into hand. So that is the main idea of this JFMC, Joint Forest Management Committee. Non-timber forest produce, of course, it's very exhaustive. So in that, there can be many commercial products also may be there. Okay. So yeah, minor forest produce, it's a very all small. So it is a one which is used for personal purpose for the tribal people. So, but when you take a non-timber forest produce, most of the time what happens, you see, in the non-timber forest produce, you can find some useful material and commodities which can be, which can be sold. So for example, certain nuts, vegetables, fishes, medicinal plants, okay, and even bamboos also will come. So many things comes under the non-timber forest produce. Direct timber, teak and all, that will be, sold, that will be, sold to this. So they can take seeds, they can take some oils, mushrooms, all right. So medicinal plant, so fuel wood, so everything. That is something called non-timber forest produce. Yes, yes, definitely they will have a limit to acquire, otherwise it will become unsustainable. So every year they will tell how much amount of NTFP they can acquire, they can take. Okay, that is about the third module, biodiversity. Now we will get in the next one, pollution. Okay, so when come to the pollution, so we are going to discuss about three types of pollution: air pollution, water pollution. So both we will see in detail, and we will do a small discussion on solid waste, because solid waste is very exhaustive. So we cannot see all the entire solid waste. So some of the important solid waste, we will do a small discussion on it. But the main is air pollution, water pollution. Okay, the first is air pollution. So let us start with air pollution. Okay, anyway, before we get into pollution, we will see some basic terms. We will see some terms. So first, what is pollution versus pollutant? So what is pollution versus pollutant? See, pollution, I will say it is any undesirable change. It may be a physical change or chemical change in the abiotic factor, in the air, water, soil. So pollution means it is a undesirable change. It can be a physical change or mechanical change or chemical change, anything. Okay, in the abiotic factor, especially air, water, soil. Okay, pollutant is an agent that brings a change. Pollutant is an agent that brings a change. Okay. Then the second term, primary pollutant versus secondary pollutant. Primary pollutant versus secondary pollutant. Primary pollutant versus secondary pollutant. Okay, what is primary pollutant is? See, it's related to air pollution. Any pollutant that is emitted directly in the air is called primary pollutant. Any pollutant that is emitted directly in the air. Any pollutant that is emitted directly in the air is called primary pollutant. Okay, what is secondary pollutant? For example, if you take an engine, so from the engine you will have exhaust. So from the exhaust, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide will comes out. So that is something primary pollutant. Okay, what is secondary pollutant is? Now this primary pollutant will react in the sunlight. Will chemically react in the presence of sunlight, and it will result in a new pollutant called secondary pollutant. So secondary pollutant, primary pollutant chemically react in the presence of sunlight, resulting in secondary pollutant. Okay, that is what primary pollutant, secondary pollutant. Then the next one is point source versus non-point source. Point source of pollution versus non-point source of pollution. Point source of pollution versus non-point source of pollution. See, that is, you have to see how the pollutant comes out. If the pollutant comes out from a single point, we call it as a point source. For example, let me say it's a coal power plant. So from the coal power plant, the exhaust is going to come. The chimney, there will be a chimney. From the chimney, the exhaust comes. So I will say this is something, a point. So from the point it comes. It's called point source. So non-point source, let me take acid rain. So acid rain, whether it comes from a single point. No, if it comes from multi-point, all right, it covers a very large area. So I will call that as a non-point. So if a pollutant comes from a single point, we call it as a point source. We call it as a point source. If a pollutant comes from a multi-point, we call it as a non-point source. Okay, so what is the difference? If it is a point source, you can measure and you can control. Point source can be measured and controlled. Non-point source can never be measured, cannot be controlled. Cannot be measured and cannot be controlled. Okay. So now we will first get into air pollution. So you can see this. So it is a report given by WHO, UNEP, and Clean Climate Air Coalition or Climate Clean Air Coalition. So air pollution yearly hit list, 1.7 million deaths due to lung disease and cancer. Let's stop this invisible killer. See, we came to know that in India, in 2017, air pollution has killed 12 lakh people. 12 lakh death is because of air pollution. So hereafter in India, more than 13 or 15 lakh death is going to happen because of air pollution. In that, more than 50,000 will be from the Delhi alone. And if you take the world top 10 cities, polluted city, 7 polluted city out of 10, 7 out of 10 is in India. And of course, in the last year, in the current trend, 1 in 8 death is only because of air pollution in India. And of course, 10% of the total death in India is because of air pollution. And because of that, we have lost more than 9% of the GDP. And of course, because of the air pollution, the life expectancy is going to reduce by 1.7 years. Our life expectancy is reducing. So that is what air pollution is completely invisible, but it is a biggest killer. It's a top killer. Okay. So now when it comes to air pollution, so what are the sources? See, basically the air pollution comes from burning of fossil fuels. Just a minute. Burning of fossil fuels. Yes, we can continue. Coming to the sources. So you can see here some of the sources of air pollution. See, air pollution most of the time comes from the burning of fossil fuel. Anything you burn, definitely the pollution is going to come out. So in this, the first main source is automobile. Automobile emission. We know that in the automobile, so we have an engine. So it is called IC engine, that is internal combustion engine. So in the engine, what we do? Yeah, we burn the fossil fuel. Either we burn the petrol or diesel. Again, it's a fossil fuel. The second source is, so what is this? Coal power plant or thermal power plant. Coal power plant or thermal power plant. So here what we do, we are burning the coal. So by burning the coal, we are getting a heat energy. That heat energy is transferred to a boiler. So where the water is heated to a superheated steam, and then it is supplied to a turbine where it is rotated and connected to a generator where we are creating electricity. So in India, more than 75 to 80% of the electricity comes only from the coal power plant. That is coal power plant. Also, it is called as thermal power plant. All right. So again, we are burning a fossil fuel, coal. Then again, you see gensets. So today, if you go to any commercial complex, large malls, or even take anything, hotels, or even flat system, everywhere you will find this genset. Again, it's a diesel genset most of the time. We are burning the diesel. Again, fossil fuel is burnt. Fossil fuel is burnt, pollution comes. So industrial emissions. So most of the industry, again, burning happens. Any burning, the fumes comes out as a byproduct of any burning. So again, it is also air pollution. And apart from that, the next important source is stubble burning. Stubble burning, that is, we are burning the agricultural residue. Okay, we'll discuss it in detail. So in this also, we are burning it. So anything you burn, definitely air pollution is going to come out. So air pollution comes only through the burning most of the time. And when you come to the rural side and all, conventional cooking, I'm right, coconut has any conventional cooking, wood you burn, yes, the fumes comes out, which is a pollutant. The pollutant comes out. And now a new form of a pollutant that comes, air pollution without burning, that comes is the construction and demolition. Construction and demolition. So now you can see some fine dust and all comes. Normally we call it as a particulate matter, which is also a pollutant. Okay, now this is what sources. No, I'm not saying any increasing order, decreasing order at all. See, these are the various sources of pollution. That's all. Okay. So when you take air pollution, okay, what are all those air pollutants? What are the pollutants we have? So we have, yes, even cremation also we can say, but that and all is a minor, that is completely minor. The major is, this is what? Fossil fuel burning, stubble burning, that and all major. See, anything you burn, definitely pollution is going to come out. There's no doubt at all. Air pollution comes from burning most of the time. Okay. Now, if you take a pollutant, so we have, more than 22, more than 40 pollutants we have. So in that, some of the top pollutants we need to see. So how we can see the pollutants? So for this, we need to understand some organization. So our entire pollution is controlled by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Am I right? Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. So this is a nodal ministry. So under this ministry, we have a board which is called CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board. It is a central government. For every state government, we have a State Pollution Control Board. Which is under the Ministry of Environment. It's a Central Pollution Control Board and the State Pollution Control Board. Central Pollution Control Board or State Pollution Control Board was created under the Water Pollution Act. Please keep in mind, because Water Pollution Act is a older act. It was created in 1970s. By 1980 only, we brought Air Pollution Act. So initially, the CPCB was created for water pollution under the Water Pollution Act. Later only, we created Air Pollution Act. In that Air Pollution Act, we have given an additional responsibility for the CPCB to take care of air pollution and noise pollution. Okay. Don't think that CPCB was created under Air Pollution Act. No, CPCB was created under the Water Pollution Act. So CPCB is a central government. For state level, it is a SPCB. Okay. So what is the difference between the two? Normally, identification of the pollutants, standards, norms, and all will be given by the CPCB. Okay, it is a CPCB will tell what are the list of pollutant has to be monitored and what quantity it has to be. So what is the level? So if it's a residential area, what is the level? If it is a forest area, what is the level it has to be maintained? If it is industries, what is the level it has to be maintained? So that will be given by the CPCB. SPCB job is to execute in that particular state. Okay. So SPCB job is to sorry is to implement in that particular state. Okay, if it's a union territory, okay, CPCB itself will take care of it. If it's a union territory, CPCB itself will take care of it. Okay. Now, under the ministry, we have a program which is called National Air Monitoring Program. You can see here NAMP. It's called National Air Monitoring Program. Okay, under this program only, we have the quality standard, which is called NAAQS. National Ambient Air Quality Standards. National Ambient Air Quality Standards. National Ambient Air Quality Standards. This is what the standards which is set by the CPCB, which is applicable nationwide. Okay. Under the standards, we are monitoring 12 pollutants. Under the standard, we are monitoring 12 pollutants. Okay, so it is a program is National Air Monitoring Program. So under the program only, we have a quality standard that is NAAQS, National Ambient. Ambient means atmosphere. Air quality standards. So normally the standards are set by the CPCB. In that quality standards, we have identified 12 pollutants. See, as air pollutant, we may have 40 plus pollutant, but in this 12 pollutants only, we are monitoring. Okay, let's see what are the 12 pollutant. The first one, sulfur dioxide. Sulfur dioxide. Second one, nitrogen dioxide. Sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. The third one is PM10, that is particulate matter. Particulate matter, which is size less than 10 micron. Normally it is 2.5 to 10 micron. Then we have particulate matter less than 2.5 micron, which is PM 2.5. Okay, then comes ozone, O3. Lead, carbon monoxide, carbon monoxide, ammonia, benzene, benzopyrene. Okay, arsenic, nickel. arsenic, nickel. Okay, this 12 pollutants you must keep in your mind. Okay, it is nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, particulate matter 2.5, particulate matter 10. Okay, ozone, lead, carbon monoxide, ammonia, benzene, benzopyrene, arsenic, nickel. Okay. Now first, so in this 12 pollutant, so we will try to see some 4 to 5 pollutant little in detail. But before that, first we will see what are the effects of pollution. Can you tell me what effects pollution will do, air pollution will do? Or this air pollutant, what are the effects it will create? Now we will see, so what are the effects of air pollution? Suppose when air pollution enters into a system, you can see here lung. Suppose if it enters, this is what a normal lung, you see the diameter, it's a large diameter. Suppose if any pollutant enters, like sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, or any pollutant enters, you see immediately inflammation process will happen. Because you know that this pollutants, either nitrogen dioxide or sulfur dioxide, is a foreign element. I mean, it's a foreign matter. So normally any foreign element, when it goes inside the body, whatever immune system will do, immune system will go and attack it. That is the time the inflammation comes. Now you see a normal lung. When a pollutant enters, you see it's inflammation. You see the radius, diameter. Here you see the diameter. Just try to see the diameter here. So the diameter is a large diameter where air can pass smooth, but here you see the diameter reduces. So immediately people will start experiencing cough, sneezing. Am I right? Because the mucus is getting formed, inflamed is happening. So in that, slowly it will get into asthma. It will get into asthma. Okay, further when it goes on, then what comes you see here. So now the increased inflammation, the mucus formation and all will happen. So by that way, it will enter into bronchitis. Bronchitis. So you can see here, inflammation and mucus formation. So that's something called bronchitis. And further, if it goes to the tip where you have the air space, air sac. Now the air sac will get enlarged and it will get distracted, which is called emphysema. So it will end up in emphysema. So that is what air pollution, in short, it will create a lot of respiratory disease. So it can start from asthma to bronchitis to emphysema. Okay, that's the first one. See, once upon a time, we thought that air pollution only creates respiratory problem. This is what we had an idea. But now we have come to know that air pollution can do much more than that. So what is the next effect? You can see blood vessel block. Yes, you see, this is a blood vessel. So in the blood vessel, suppose if it is completely blocked, what happened? The blood cannot supply. All right, the blood cannot move. So if it happens in the heart, it will create cardiac arrest, heart attack. If it happens in the brain, it will create stroke, paralysis, death. Am I right? Now today, the air pollutant, suppose if it enters into the bloodstream, more chances that it will join with the cholesterol and it will accumulate this cholesterol and it will create a complete block. It will create a complete block. So because of that, people may get heart disease. people may get heart disease or people may get stroke, and people may also die because of it. So as we thought, air pollution is not only going to create respiratory problem, air pollution will also create heart disease. Heart attack can also come because of air pollution. Cardiac arrest, that is what. And then stroke will also possible because of air pollution. Okay, and the third one is air pollution is a carcinogen. Air pollution is a carcinogen, especially in the particulate matter. 2.5 and particulate matter 10 is a very, very serious carcinogen. So now when this carcinogen enters into our body, yes, air pollution can cause cancer, confirms WHO. So the WHO confirms that air pollution can cause cancer. So in this, you can see here, the air pollution increase the risk of creating a tumor. So it can easily create a tumor, and that is what it happens here. We can see this. Okay, so you can see this picture. That is, if you see a death from lung cancer, 36% of death from lung cancer comes from air pollution. So it is an invisible killer. Air pollution may not always be visible, but it's deadly. That means if you take 100 people, 100 death because of lung cancer, 36 death has come from air pollution. 100 death because of stroke, 34 death has come because of air pollution. Out of 100 people dead because of heart disease, 27 people have died because of air pollution. Just imagine, is it something, can you believe that in the last year, 100 people have died because of heart disease. In that, 27 people died because of heart disease because of air pollution. That is what many, if you go and tell outside, people will not accept it. But it is being told by WHO. Of course, our Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Health also accepted it. Air pollution is a serious concern. Yes, if you see last year, 100 people have died because of stroke. I will say that 34 people in that stroke is because of air pollution. So air pollution may not always be visible. It can be deadly. That is what, it's a serious concern. So that is the reason from last year onwards, we started taking a very stringent action on air pollution. Apart from this, air pollution affects children. Air pollution affects pregnant mothers. Okay, it can create vitamin deficiency in the children. It can also reduce the IQ level of the children. It can reduce the memory of the children. Okay, and apart from that, it can also create depression, irritation, violence on the people. So if you see the impact of air pollution is very, very huge. Is very, very huge. Okay, so don't think that air pollution is just a respiratory problem. So today air pollution has gone beyond the respiratory problem. So where it has created strokes, death, and also heart disease death, and also cancer death is also high. It's because of air pollution. In future, if you don't control the air pollution rate in India, probably we can find more death from the air pollution. Last year, 2017 itself, they told 12 lakh death is because of air pollution. So last year they said that more than 13 lakh death is because of air pollution. So hereafter 15 lakh death will become because of air pollution. So that is how air pollution has to be controlled. Okay. Now let's get into the pollutants. We will see some of the major pollutants. We'll discuss some pollutants. First, let us take nitrogen dioxide. Okay, so how a nitrogen dioxide is getting created? Very simple. That is, as I already told you, nitrogen will not react in the normal temperature. So nitrogen and oxygen will not react in the normal temperature, because as I told you, nitrogen is something inert, it will not react. But nitrogen can react under one condition, that is high temperature. So whenever a high temperature is induced, nitrogen will react in a high temperature, nitrogen will react with oxygen and it will come out as a oxides of nitrogen. Okay, so when a high temperature is induced, burning. When you burn anything, when you burn a coal, when you burn, even inside the engine, high temperature is induced. So diesel engine or petrol engine. Okay, even in the stubble burning, even in any burning, okay, even in the coal power plant, high temperature is induced. Whenever a high temperature is induced, the nitrogen will react with the oxygen and comes out as the oxides of nitrogen. So when I say oxides of nitrogen, of course, what and all will come out as, first it will come out as NO, then it will come out as a NO2, and also there is a chances that it can also come out as a N2O. NO is nitric oxide, which is not a pollutant, which is harmless. The second is NO2, which is nitrogen dioxide, which is a pollutant. N2O is a nitrous oxide. Nitrous oxide, which is not a pollutant, but it is a greenhouse gas. But it is a greenhouse gas. So in this, the concern is nitrogen dioxide because it is a pollutant. Okay, what nitrogen dioxide will do? Okay, nitrogen dioxide, yes, it will create respiratory problems. It will create respiratory problems. Second is it will damage leaves. It will damage leaves, and most of the time it will retard photosynthesis. It will retard photosynthesis, and also the nitrogen dioxide is also harmful to textiles and fibers. Nitrogen dioxide is also very harmful to textiles and fibers. Okay, that is how nitrogen dioxide will create. Most of the time, how it is harmful to textiles or fibers, when a nitrogen dioxide touches the textile, probably the fibers and all, probably it will reduce the quality of it. It is also harmful to metal industry. It is also harmful to the metal industry. Okay, that is one. Okay, the next is sulfur dioxide. Okay, how sulfur dioxide is getting created? How sulfur dioxide is getting created? Very simple. Anything sulfur content you burn, sulfur dioxide will come. That is, sulfur in a high temperature, when it is burnt, of course, sulfur is burnt in a high temperature, it will mix with oxygen and comes out as a sulfur dioxide. If you take a petrol, diesel, coal, whether it has got sulfur, yes, it has got sulfur. Even in agriculture stubble also it has got sulfur. Even if you burn a human body also it's got sulfur. So anything you burn, if it has a sulfur content, automatically the sulfur will mix with the oxygen and come out as a sulfur dioxide. That's all, very simple. So if I don't want nitrogen dioxide, what should I do? I should not burn at all, because nitrogen is present in the air. Because if you want to burn, definitely you need air. In that air, nitrogen is going to be there. So obviously nitrogen is going to get burnt. Okay, if you don't want sulfur, what you need to do? Sulfur dioxide, we should not burn anything that has got a sulfur content. That's all. Any sulfur content you burn, that will mix with the, the high temperature, it mixes the oxygen and come to us out as a sulfur dioxide. So what sulfur dioxide? Basically, sulfur dioxide is an irritant. It can cause respiratory problems. It will cause respiratory problems. Okay, then it can also create irritation to eyes. Normally it will create tearness, redness. Sometimes it can also damage the eye. Okay, suppose if the concentration is high, this will sulfur dioxide will stiffen the flower buds. It will stiffen the flower buds, so that once the flower bud is getting stiffened, it will eventually break and fall. It will stiffen the flower buds so that eventually it will break and fall. Okay. That is what sulfur dioxide. The next is carbon monoxide, CO. Carbon monoxide. See how a carbon monoxide, oxides of carbon comes out. When you burn anything carbon content in a high temperature, any carbon content, if you burn in a high temperature, if it mixes with the oxygen, it comes out as a carbon dioxide. Now, whether in the 12 pollutant carbon dioxide is given? No, carbon dioxide is not given, because carbon dioxide we have not considered as a pollutant, air pollutant under the 12 pollutant, because till now there is a lot of debate is going on whether carbon dioxide should be included as a pollutant. One group of people say that carbon dioxide has to be included in the pollutant, but other group people say that carbon dioxide is not a pollutant. Okay, it is only a greenhouse gas. It's a global warming agent. It is not an air pollutant, it's a climate change pollutant. So that's how in our 12 pollutant, carbon dioxide is not there. So how carbon monoxide is there? How carbon monoxide? See, carbon dioxide, when it mixes with complete oxygen, it comes as a CO2. So if the same carbon in a high temperature, when it is burned, if it mixing with single atom of oxygen, then it comes out as a carbon monoxide. That's all. If it mixes with the single atoms of oxygen, it comes out as a carbon monoxide. That means what it is? It is incomplete combustion. Incomplete combustion. See, most of the time in any burning, complete combustion is not possible. Even inside the engine, you see, the engine is running at a very high speed. Okay, the piston is moving in the cylinder in a high speed, okay, in a high velocity, where complete combustion is not possible. That is what in any burning, carbon dioxide will also come out, carbon monoxide will also come out. Both will come out. But if a carbon monoxide means it is mixing with a single atom of oxygen, it is an incomplete combustion, which is very dangerous. Okay, why carbon monoxide is a problem? Because the carbon monoxide, if you take our blood, in our blood we have a hemoglobin. So what is the job of hemoglobin in the blood? Actually, our hemoglobin has got a high affinity with oxygen. Actually, our oxygen is transported in the blood only by the hemoglobin. The entire oxygen in the blood is transported only by this hemoglobin, because the hemoglobin has got a good affinity with the oxygen. So it catches the oxygen and takes to all part of the body. But when a carbon monoxide enters, this hemoglobin will have 300 times more affinity. If it is one time means hemoglobin and oxygen, hemoglobin and carbon monoxide will be 300 times. So 300 times it has got more affinity. So in that, what happens? You see, all the oxygen will be removed. Carbon monoxide will run in the entire body. By that way, now people may get into fainting, okay, dizziness, fainting, coma, and death. That is what carbon monoxide is very serious. It is purely because of incomplete combustion. So always keep in mind, in any burning, carbon dioxide will also come out, carbon monoxide will also come out. Carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas, carbon monoxide is an air pollutant. Okay. Okay. So we'll take a small break and then we will get into the next one. Okay, shall we start? The next is particulate matter, PM. Particulate matter. So it comes in two sizes. Of course, we measure by two sizes. The one is PM 2.5, that is less than 2.5 micron, and PM 10, that is 2.5 to 10 micron. We call it as PM 10. PM 10. So first, we need to know the characteristics of this particulate matter. So how it behaves, what size it will be. So then we will see what is the impact of it. Last part, just okay. Some doubts we will clarify. See, in carbon monoxide, what I told is, this carbon monoxide has got a high affinity with hemoglobin. So in our blood, we have this hemoglobin, right? So the job of the hemoglobin is the transporter. Of course, hemoglobin only transport the oxygen to our entire body. So normally the hemoglobin and oxygen has got a very high affinity. But in this case, by chance, if a carbon monoxide enter into the blood, this carbon monoxide will have 300 times more affinity with hemoglobin than the oxygen. So by that way, what happens, you see, so we cannot, so of course, the entire oxygen will be completely removed from the body, and it is only the carbon monoxide will run into the system, so that the people may get into, dizziness, fainting, coma, death, people, because lack of oxygen. Oxygen will be removed out. Okay, come to the PM 2.5, PM 10. So if you need to see the characteristics. The characteristics is the first. You just make note the characteristics. Okay, first is it is determined based on the size. Particulate matter is determined based on the size. It is determined based on the size. It is determined based on the size. You can see here. If you want to know what is this 2.5 micron, if you take our human hair, if you take one hair, the diameter of one hair is 50 to 70 micron. Just imagine 50 to 70 micron is our one hair size. If you take one hair size, it's 50 to 70 micron. Even if you go to a beach, even the fine beach sand, if you take, it is 90 micron. But here we are talking about 2.5 micron, 10 micron. So 10 micron, I can say it is 1/5 of the, hair. That is how the size. So most of the time it is invisible. Okay. So point number 2 is it is invisible. It is invisible and will be in suspension. It is invisible and will be in suspension. So what is suspension? Suspension means floating, because it is floating. Am I right? Number 3, point number 3, it can be organic and inorganic. It can be organic and inorganic. Okay. So when I say organic, most of the time from the plant pollens and all is a particulate matter. It's a fine, particle. Or mostly from the engines burning, in any burning, this particulate matter will come either in the form of 2.5 or in the form of 10. It can be organic or inorganic or inorganic. Okay. Next point is it will travel for long distance. So once it is emitted, it can travel for a long distance. So that is what you would have heard about Delhi pollution. Punjab and Haryana, whatever the stubble burning they do, so from there, it is carried away and finally it settles in Delhi. So that's what it can be transported for a long distance. Okay, next point is, once emitted, it is difficult to remove. Once emitted, it is difficult to remove. So once you emit the particulate matter by burning or something, then it's not possible to remove at all. Okay, the next is, it is carcinogen and mutagen. It can be carcinogen and mutagen or mutagen. So most of the particulate matter 2.5 and all, especially comes from the coal burning or even comes from the engine burning and all, it is a carcinogen, or sometimes it is a mutagen. So when you inhale, it can easily enter into our respiratory system. From there, it can enter into the bloodstream, so that it can attach to the lung, can create a lung cancer. It can enter through the bloodstream. It can go to heart. It can create a heart disease, stroke, anything it can do. So most of the damage will be done only by this PM 2.5. PM 2.5 and PM 10. Okay, so it can easily enter into bloodstream. It can even mutate the DNA. Okay, and it is given by different names. This particulate matter is given by different names. So it is called as dust. Sometimes it is called as smoke. Sometimes it is called as aerosol. It's called as air mixture. Okay. Specifically, it can also be called as soot. Normally from the diesel engine, when it comes, we call it as soot. Black carbon. It can also be called as black carbon. So normally from the coal burning or from the diesel engine. So based on the size, it is called by different name. Black carbon. Okay, it is also called as fly ash. Normally from the coal power plant, in the coal burning, if it comes out, it is called fly ash. It is called by different names: dust, smoke, aerosol, soot, SWOT. Normally from the diesel engine, what comes as a soot? Black carbon, sometimes brown carbon. If you burn the organic matter, any organic matter, that time what comes as a brown carbon, fly ash, coal burning. So that's what it's given by different names. Okay. Now we'll see the issue of stubble burning. See, example of mutagen. See, there's no mutagen example. I will say particulate matter is a mutagen. Mutagen means these are the chemical, probably within a particulate matter, certain particulate matter can enter into the cell, into the DNA, and it can mutate the DNA. Okay, it can deform the DNA. That is what called mutagen. Okay, now come to the stubble burning. So let's try to understand about stubble burning. So this is what stubble. So what is stubble is nothing but an agriculture residue. Agriculture residue is called stubble. That is, after you do the harvesting, so rice or wheat, so the excess, straws, we call it as stubble. Now what the farmer has to do is, he has to cut the stubble, clear the land, and then cultivate for the next crop. So you know that in India, we have 4 seasons. Crop season, we have 4 seasons. During the summer, they do a rice cultivation. and then there will be an intermediate period. So in that, some fodder or something they will go for. And then coming to the winter, so that time they will go for a wheat cultivation. And then again, there will be an intermediate period. So they will go for some, miscellaneous cultivation. And then again, rice cultivation, like that it goes on. So we will have a 4 season. So from one season to another season, the farmer says the time gap is very less, but normally it will be more than 1 month. Anyway, so the thing is, these are the agriculture residue. So what you see is agriculture residue. Now you need to clear the agriculture residue for the next crop, cultivation. So if you want to clear the agriculture residue, there are 2 options. Option number 1 is the farmer has to engage labor. He has to cut all the straws, all the residues, and then dispose it in a lorry or something. Hire a lorry, dispose it. That is option number 1. Option number 2 is, okay, you can pour some kerosene and then burn it. Within 2 or 3 days of time, okay, it will be completely burnt, or within 2 to few hours of time, it will be completely burnt off. So now, out of these 2 options, which option will be better for the farmer point of view? Obviously, burning. Because if you want to cut, you need to engage you need to engage labor, you need to manually cut it and then remove it, hire a lorry. So you need to spend the money, you need to dispose it. So it will take a lot of time. Okay, a lot of time, energy, cost, and all it will take. But whereas burning is very simple. Am I right? So pour some, kerosene or something, you burn it. And at the same time, when you burn, we have some temporary benefit. So when you burn, the one is, it will be a quick, it is going to be very fast. It can also be a nitrogen recovery. It can be a quick nitrogen recovery. And at the same time, of course, it is going to be a low cost disposal. And of course, at the same time, it will also kill the weeds and pests. Any weeds and pests present in the land, it is also going to get killed. But anyway, burning the land for the long-term soil conservation, it is not good. The long-term soil health is going to get affected by burning the land. But by the short term, it may have benefit. Okay. So that's what it is going to be, very quick. It is going to be low cost. Okay. It is going to be a, so probably anything burn or something, that nutrient will be there. So that is burning means is a nutrient. I mean about the nutrient is going to be there. It is going to kill the pests and weeds. Am I right? So it's going to kill the pests and weeds. So that's going to happen. Okay. Nutrient recovery. It's a nutrient recovery, nutrient recovery. Okay. It's going to be a nutrient recovery. It is going to kill the weeds and pests. Am I right? So this and all is going to happen because of this burning. But anyway, when you burn, all the pollutant is going to come out, especially the particulate matter also is going to come out. And this particulate matter goes till Delhi. So that is what, when this issue came 2 years back, so the Supreme Court has ordered the Punjab and Haryana government to control the stubble burning. So even the 2 government, some or other way tried to control, but they couldn't do it. Anyway, what is the solution? Yes, we have one solution. So that is something called Happy Seeder. There is a machine called Happy Seeder. It's a machine called Happy Seeder. So if you run the machine Happy Seeder, the Happy Seeder will cut the stubble into fine piece. They will cut into fine piece so that again you can mix that fine piece with the fertilizer and then you can, lay it on the land and you can do the next cultivation. That is what the option we have. But the problem is this Happy Seeder, the cost of the machine is approximately more than 1.3 lakhs. Anyway, the government is giving 33% subsidy, but the cost is 1.3 lakhs. So now the farmers are questioning why I need to spend 1.3 lakhs, okay, just for stubble removing. Okay, that too I'm going to use it for only once in a time. I mean, in a season, he's going to use the machine only for once. So for that reason, why should I use this machine? This is what most of the people says. Okay, it is something like, it's something like a equipment you can fit to the tractor and then you can run it. That's something called Happy Seeder. So anyway, the state governments have said that, okay, we will try to provide the Happy Seeder to everyone. Okay, by that way, we can control the stubble burning. So today, more than 35 million tons of stubble is burnt, which is creating a huge amount of air pollution. Okay, so our traditional method of June cultivation also comes under this. that is about the particulate matter 2.5 and particulate matter 10. Okay, so now we have some alternate for this. So we will see certain things in current affair. Okay, the next is ozone. Ozone. See, this is a ground level ozone, or it is also called as tropospheric ozone, or it is also called as bad ozone. See, because ozone, O3, we have two ozone. Ozone in the stratosphere, ozone in the troposphere. So we are going to discuss about the ground level ozone. So if the ozone present in the ground level, then it is called tropospheric ozone or ground level ozone. Then it is a air pollutant. It is a bad ozone. If the same O3, if it is present in the stratosphere, yes, then it is a good ozone, because it prevents us from the UVB ray. It prevents us from the UVB ray if the ozone is in the stratosphere layer. But ground level, it is a bad ozone. Okay, how ozone is created in the lower level? Please keep in mind, ozone is not directly created. Ozone is not directly created in the lower level because ozone is a secondary pollutant. Ozone is a secondary pollutant. Okay, so what we discussed in secondary pollutant. So what is a secondary pollutant? Secondary pollutant is the one when a primary pollutant, when it reacts in the sunlight, okay, it results in the secondary pollutant. Am I right? That is what. So of course, from the primary pollutant, the secondary pollutant will come out. So here, the primary pollutant is nothing but our nitrogen dioxide. It is nothing but nitrogen dioxide. Now, what happens? You see, when there is a sufficient amount of nitrogen dioxide in the lower level, when the sunlight comes and strikes it, it will break the NO to NO plus O. It will break the NO to NO plus O. Okay. Now, the single O is always called as free radical. Generally, it is highly unstable. It is highly reactive, the single O. So that's how the single O, what will do is, it will immediately react with some other O2 nearby. By that way, O3 is getting created. You can see the reaction. So when the nitrogen dioxide, when it is struck by the sunlight, it is broken down into NO plus O. The single O is always highly reactive, which is unstable. It will immediately join with some existing O2. By that way, O3 is getting created. This is how O3 is produced. So O3 is not directly produced. O3 is produced by NO2. It is a secondary pollutant. Okay, what O3 will do? O3 will do extensive damage to plant life and animal life, and also it will create a lot of respiratory diseases. Okay, it will create a respiratory diseases, a very important respiratory disease. Normally they call it as COPD. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. COPD. Okay. Okay, these are the major pollutants. Okay, apart from this, we have some more secondary pollutant. So in that, the first one is acid rain. See, O3 can also, first respiratory problem, it will do extensive damage to plant life and animal life. It will also affect the cardiovascular health, heart disease, O3. Okay, first acid rain. So first, what is the rainwater pH? What is a normal rainwater pH? So can anyone tell me what is a normal rainwater pH? 7. But it is not 7, it is 5.6. Please keep in mind the rainwater, normal rainwater pH is 5.6. It is not 7 at all. Okay, why it is not 7 is, please imagine from the cloud, when it comes out as a 7. But when it passes through the atmosphere, the rainwater is mixing with carbon dioxide. It is getting converted into carbonic acid, acidic. So that's the reason it comes out as a 5.6. So that means pH neutral for rainwater is 5.6. pH neutral for rainwater itself is 5.6. Okay, so anything less than 5.6 only, you can call it as acid rain. Suppose in the exam, if they say if the rainwater 5.8 means whether it's acid rain or not, no, don't think 7 is a neutral. No, 5.6 is a neutral. So for rainwater alone, pH neutral means we need to consider 5.6. So anything less than 5.6 only, you should call it as a acid rain. Anything more than 5.6, it's a normal rain. Okay. So now we will see how this acid rain is getting created. So here within the 12 pollutant, 5.6 till 5.6 is acid rain. Anything less than 5.6, only we can call it as a acid rain. Till 5.6 is a neutral, it's a normal rainwater. It can be created by nitrogen dioxide or sulfur dioxide. Yes, see again, there is a doubt. 5.6 and more than 5.6 is a normal rainwater, because after the condensation, cloud formation, condensation, when the rain comes out, it comes out as a 7. But when it passes through the atmosphere, it is mixing with the carbon dioxide and getting converted into carbonic acid. That is the reason from 7 it is reducing to 5.6. Up to 5.6, it's a neutral, it's a normal rainwater. Less than 5.6 only, you should call it as acidic rain. Okay, so now within the 12 pollutant, nitrogen dioxide and sulfur dioxide can be a reason for acid rain. So what happens, you see, when nitrogen dioxide level is more in the atmosphere, it can further oxidize. It has to further oxidize and of course react in the sunlight, and then it will mix with the rainwater and come out as a nitric acid. Okay, or the sulfur dioxide has to further oxidize and then it will mix with the rainwater, come out as a sulfuric acid. Okay. So this is what, either it's a nitrogen dioxide, it has to further oxidize and it has to mix with the rainwater, come to as a nitric acid, or sulfur dioxide, it has to further oxidize and mix with the rainwater and come out as a sulfuric acid. Anything it can be. Both are acid rains only. So what acid rain will do? See, acid rain, when it touches the building, monument and all, it will corrode it. Okay, when it touches the soil, it will change the soil pH so that it will kill all the bacteria in the soil, earthworms, bacteria and all. When it touches the plant, of course, the plant will die. Forest dieback, we call it as. So all the forest will die. Forest or trees will die. And then from there, it will run off. It will enter into the water body, lake. So in that lake also, the lake pH will change. Phytoplankton will get killed. If it's a coral reefs will get killed. All right, it will do extensive damage. So once upon a time, we use lead pipe and all. By chance, if the rainwater enters into the lead pipe, so it will corrode the lead. So the lead will mix up in the drinking water. So the very famous case is Taj Mahal case. So in the Taj Mahal authority came to know that the exterior structure, the marble structure of the Taj Mahal has got deformed. Later only they came to know that nearby there is a Mathura refinery. So from the Mathura refinery, the sulfur dioxide comes out, it is oxidizing and it is, mixing with the rainwater, fell as a sulfuric acid in the entire, Taj Mahal. So that's the reason the entire structure of the Taj Mahal is got deformed. The marble structure has got deformed. Okay. Now, when you take this acid rain, it can come in a form of a rain or it can also come in a form of solid particle. So that is what acid rain, normally they say that it can be in the deposits of acid rain can be a wet deposit or dry deposit. It can be wet deposit or it can be dry deposit. Suppose if the rainfall is very less, then it can come in a dry form. So which is also not good. So that will also corrode. Suppose if it comes in the dry form, most of the time it comes in the particulate matter form. And whenever, we inhale, so that time, the sulfuric acid or the nitric acid in a dry form, it may enter into a system. Okay, both are very dangerous, whether it comes in dry form or wet form. Okay. So that is about the acid rain. The next secondary pollutant is photochemical smog. Sorry, photochemical smog. You see the term itself, it's a secondary pollutant. Photo, it's a photo, it's nothing but a sun. So sun chemical reaction, smog. Smog means what? It is a smoke plus fog. So if you mix a smoke and fog, how it will resemble? That is how it's called photochemical smog. So it is very dangerous. So a few years back, it was in Delhi. Okay, that time they gave leave to the school children and everything. Now, photochemical smog, it is not one chemical, it is a group of chemical. And also its reaction is very, very complex. Okay, photochemical smog sources, it can be from coal power plant or it can be from the automobile. But most of the photochemical smog today, what we find is only because of the automobile emission. It is because of the automobile emission. Okay, so it is a secondary pollutant. So if it is a secondary pollutant, so definitely there should be a primary pollutant. So who is the primary pollutant? The precursor, the primary pollutant, the culprit is nothing but our nitrogen dioxide. Our nitrogen dioxide is responsible for this photochemical smog. Okay, how the reaction happens, we will see here. It comes in stages. The first stage, suppose if it is a dry, sunny climate, okay, when the nitrogen dioxide level concentration is high, there should be a sunny climate, dry sunny climate. When the nitrogen dioxide level is very high, of course, I told you the nitrogen dioxide will be broken by the sunlight into NO plus O. And also I told you this O is always highly unstable. This O will go and join with some other O2 nearby. By that way, O3 is getting created. This is the first stage. The first stage is O3 formation. Now, the second stage is this O3, this NO2, sometimes this NO also. Because NO2, NO also will come, will complexly react with automobile emissions of unburnt hydrocarbon. Automobile engine will release unburnt hydrocarbons or sometimes unsaturated hydrocarbons. So now this unburnt hydrocarbon will react with the O3, NO2 and all. So by that way, some group of chemical will come out. Out of that, a very important chemical is PAN. PAN stands for peroxyacetyl nitrate. PAN stands for peroxyacetyl nitrate. There can be PAN, sometimes formaldehyde, acrolein. So there are many chemicals will come. Now this group of chemical is called photochemical smog. Now again, what happens? You see, this PAN and O3 will join. Mostly it is a powerful irritant. Then this PAN, O3, NO2 will join. Again, it can crack rubbers. So like that, extensive damage it will do. So in this PAN is very important. So now this group of chemical is called photochemical smog. Is called photochemical smog. So again, I will tell you. So first, the condition is, so the precursor. Let me start like this. The precursor is, the primary precursor is, of course, nitrogen dioxide, sunlight, and this unburnt hydrocarbons. Now, the first condition is, the first stage is, if it is a dry sunny climate, when during the automobile emission, when there is a peak of the automobile emission, so either in the morning time or probably some in the late evening time, when you have more nitrogen dioxide, this nitrogen dioxide will be, strike, or will the sunlight will strike the nitrogen dioxide and it will break into NO plus O. Now this O will immediately, it's highly reactive, it will go join with some other O2 and come as a O3. That is what O3 formation happened. That is the first stage. In the second stage, this O3, NO2 and all will complexly react with unburnt hydrocarbon. By the time, a group of chemical will come out like PAN, formaldehyde, acrylate and all. More important is PAN, peroxyacetyl nitrate. Now this PAN and O3 is a powerful eye irritant. Now this PAN, O3, NO2 will join, which will crack the rubber, so corrode the building, so that it will do extensive damage to the life. Most of the time, comparing with the primary pollutant, secondary pollutants definitely will do serious damage. This is what we call it as photochemical smog. This is what we call it as photochemical smog. Okay. So till this, do you have any doubts? So we have seen nitrogen dioxide, the formation of nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, ozone, okay, PAN, that is the photochemical smog, acid rain, some of the major chemicals we have seen. Actually, this is more than sufficient. See, PAN side effects of PAN, generally PAN and O3. They say that PAN and ozone is a very powerful eye irritant. Okay, sometimes it can cause headache, it can cause difficulty in breathing and all. And apart from that, it will crack the rubber, it will do extensive damage to plant life, corrosion of metal, building, stones, painted surface. So the damages will be very extensive because it's a secondary pollutant. See, acid rain, wet deposit, dry deposit, it's very simple. Please keep in mind, suppose if you see the process is something, normally what happens, you see the nitrogen dioxide, when it goes to the nitrogen dioxide or sulfur dioxide, when it goes to the upper atmosphere by the convection in the sunlight, it will get oxidized, it will mix with the oxygen, and then probably it will mix with the rainwater, okay, and fall as a acid rain, either nitric acid solvent. Now the amount of rainwater what we have, suppose the amount of rainwater is very, very less, sometime what happens, you see, it can come in a dry form, which is called dry deposit. If the amount of rainwater is sufficient, then it comes out as a, this thing. So if it is a very dry climate and all, especially in the desert side and all, yes, it will come as a dry deposit. It cannot be a wet deposit. So in the tropical region and all, where you have more rainfall, that there you can come as a wet deposit. That's all. See, stubble burning has become, stubble burning is going on for years. Why it has become so dangerous? Because I will say it is a cumulative effect. So cumulative effect in the sense, two things. Now automobile emission, all the emission is increasing. And now agriculture residue burning is also increasing more. Agriculture activity is also increasing. So if you see 20 to 30 years back, the agriculture land, cropping area was very less. But today cropping area is very high. So that is what, it's only the, time scale decides it. So carbon dioxide can easily mix with the water because carbon dioxide is a very good dissolver. Comparing with oxygen, carbon dioxide can easily dissolve in the water. Okay. Yes. Apart from this, that is CPCB monitors this 12 pollutant. Apart from the 12 pollutant, they're also monitoring the secondary pollutant like the photochemical smog and acid rain. And apart from this, of late, recently, they are monitoring this traces of PAH. Traces of PAH. PAH stands for polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. Polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. So you see hydrocarbon, it's a carbon based, normally come from the oil, coal, petrol and all. Aroma. So sometimes many people will like the petrol smell. Many of you may like a petrol smell, that is nothing but aroma. Some people will like a diesel smell because it's nothing but aroma. That aroma is coming from the hydrocarbon. Am I right? But keep in mind that aroma is a carcinogen, mutagen and teratogen, all the three. Okay, so it was thought that how this polyaromatic hydrocarbon has come. So when this universe was born, that time, shortly after the Big Bang, okay, most of the carbon was in the form of pH. They said that. So 20% of the carbon is in the universe is associated with the pH. So that time, this polyaromatic carbon is also associated with a lot of stars and all, historically. But today, where this polyaromatic hydrocarbon, most of the time, the polyaromatic hydrocarbon is found in the fossil fuels, hydrocarbons. Fossil fuels and, of course, burning. If you burn, in the byproduct of burning of fossil fuel, this polyaromatic hydrocarbon comes. And of course, within the fossil fuel, in the oil, directly pH is there. That is what during the oil spill and all, in the ocean marine oil spill, it is only the pH kills most of the fishes. So Apart from this, even in the food also, we have this polyaromatic hydrocarbon when you do a cooking, especially in the meat. That is, when you cook the meat, especially, the chicken or, fish, when you cook it at a very high temperature, like grilling, barbecuing, smoked fish, so that time polyaromatic hydrocarbon will come out. And apart from that, yes, when you burn the, any hydrocarbon, that time pH will come out. The concern is the pH is a carcinogen, mutagen, teratogen. Okay, of late, CPCB is monitoring this traces of pH because the trace of pH is increasing. It is slowly increasing the atmosphere. So merely because of automobile emission, coal power plant. So that is the reason they are also monitoring this pH. Okay. Most of the time in the oil spill, actually this pH in the oil only, it kills the most of the fishes and marine organism. Okay. Yes. See, sir, whether the nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, okay, like a particle, not a crystal, of course, like a particle, it will come in the dry region. And wherever the rainfall is very less, that time, it comes as a dry deposit. See, pH is not a secondary pollutant. Okay, pH is a primary pollutant only. It does not have any connection with secondary pollutant. Okay, so that is about the major pollutant. So now we need to see control of air pollution. So we understood about the sources of air pollution, effects of air pollution, and also the various pollutants we have discussed. Now, how India controls this air pollution. So what are the ways, various methods we are controlling this air pollution? Okay, so here we have a legislation act, which is Air Pollution Prevention and Control Act. We have an Air Pollution Prevention and Control Act. So this is giving a power to the CPCB and SPCB to control the air pollution. So here the authority will be the pollution inspector. So the pollution inspector, okay, will enforce the standards and norms for various industries. When this act was created initially, this act didn't have any power at all. Suppose if a pollution inspector comes to know that if any company is going against the norms, so he has to go to the pollution inspector has to go to the court. He has to get the order from the court. Then only he can take action. But now the Air Pollution Act is very powerful. That is, if any company is violating the norm, then the pollution inspector can enter into the company, enter into the premises of the company without a permission. They can take a sample. If they found that they are violating the norm, they can ask the electricity supply board to stop the electricity supply for the company. They can ask the water supply board to stop the water supply. They can even seal the company also. That's how Air Pollution Prevention Control Act is a very, very powerful act which gives enormous power to the CPCB and SPCB to control the air pollution. So all the norms and guidelines will be given. So penalties and punishments. So if anyone is violating the norm, the penalties and punishment is also given in the Pollution Act. Okay, along with this act, we have one supplementary act, Air Pollution Prevention and Control Cess Act. So what is cess? It is tax on tax. Am I right? Cess is nothing but tax on tax. This is based on a principle called polluters pay principle. This is based on a principle called polluters pay principle. One who pollutes, he has to pay the tax. So now under this act, whoever pollutes, they have to pay the tax. So all the industry, vehicle owners, so everyone is paying a cess. Suppose by chance, if you're adopting a clean technology, so that if you're not polluting it, then under this act, you will get a rebate. So you don't want to pay the tax. Okay, that is how the 2 Act plays a very, very important role. Okay, apart from this, the government of India also created, the Cess Act is something tax on tax. It is rebate. So suppose if any company, suppose assume that the company is using a coal power plant. So definitely they are going to emit a lot of, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide. Suppose if the company is moving from coal power plant to wind energy, so now they are going for clean energy. Now under the Cess Act, they can get a rebate. They don't want to pay the tax. Okay. So the next is the government of India has launched one index which is called AQI or NAQI, National Air Quality Index. National Air Quality Index. See, it is launched under the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. This index is launched under the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Sometimes it is also called as one color, one number, one description. It is called as one color, one number, one description. See, what is the purpose is? The purpose is there will be a number like 280 or something. A color will be given, a description will be given like poor or something. Now, by seeing this color, number, and description, even a common man can understand what is the status of the air pollution in his city. So that is the purpose of this. So it is launched under the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan Clean India Mission. So for the common man to understand the level of pollution in his place or in his area or in his city. That is the purpose of this. Okay, that is one number, one color, one description. Now under this AQI, so we are monitoring 8 pollutants under 6 categories. We are monitoring 8 pollutants under 6 category. Out of the 12 pollutant, we have taken 8 pollutant for it. Can you tell me what are the 8 pollutants? The same: nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, the same PM 2.5, PM 10, ozone, and then ammonia, lead. These are the 8 pollutants we are monitoring. Okay, I will show that. You can see here nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, carbon monoxide, O3, PM 2.5, PM 10, ammonia, lead. 8 pollutants, 6 category. So what are the 6 categories? Good, satisfactory, moderate, poor, very poor, severe. Okay, and they will give a number. So 0 to 50, 50 to 60, 50 to 100, either. So for example, if it's particulate matter, if they say 240, the particulate matter in your city, particulate matter 10 in your city is 240. So when you say 240, of course, it is moderate. So you can see the color, it is a green color, it's a green color. You can see the light green color, yellow, orange, red. Okay, and then severe is something, dark red. So that is what it is: one color, one number, there will be a number, there will be a description. So for everything, they have a range. See, why they're monitoring? Actually, they have some calculation. So some are monitored for 24 hours, some are monitored for 8 hours. Because it is a secondary, of course, it's a secondary pollutant. I'm right. Its formation will take some more time. And based on the, the quantity, based on the amount it comes out, that also matters a lot. How much amount it comes out, how much quantity it comes out. So based on multiple factor, they will monitor for either 24 hours or 8 hours. Okay, so even in your essay book, it is there, you can refer. So this is it's an index. So it is the main purpose is even a common man should understand what is the status of air pollution in his place. Okay, that is what called AQI. Okay, the next is, since Delhi pollution is a major concern, the Supreme Court has asked the central government to create a separate authority for Delhi to control the air pollution. So based on the Supreme Court order, under the Environment Protection Act of 1986, the central government has created a separate authority called Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority. Environment Pollution Prevention and Control Authority. Okay, first keep in mind, this authority is exclusive for New Delhi. It's exclusive for New Delhi. Okay, so it was created by, by the order of Supreme Court. It is by the notification, just by the notification by central government under the EPA Act of 1986, by the order of Supreme Court. Okay, the purpose of Environment Pollution Prevention Control Authority is to monitor the Delhi pollution and control the Delhi pollution, and periodically report to the Supreme Court and the central government about the status of Delhi pollution. So now this Environmental Pollution Prevention Control Authority, they will take one action plan, which is very famous action plan, that is called Graded Response Action Plan. GRAP. Graded Response Action Plan, GRAP. So under the Graded Response Action Plan, so they have taken many actions. For example, all the autos in Delhi, it has to be CNG. That is compressed natural gas. It is comparatively, cleaner energy than the, petrol and coal. So it will not give much pollution. And apart from that, any engine, very older engine and all has to be banned. Any diesel engine more than 10 years has to be banned. So during the Diwali, crackers should be banned. So like that, under the Graded Action Plan, they take different action. Okay, so in order to control the Delhi pollution. So in this, one famous action is odd even policy. In Delhi, they took this odd even policy. So what the odd even policy is, if your car number ends in the odd number, you can drive it during the odd days. Suppose assume that your car number is 8763. So now the number ends in odd number. So you can drive it on 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Okay, that is the days you can drive. You should not drive it on any even day. Suppose if you drive, there will be a huge penalty. If your car number is an even number, the same way you can drive it on the even day, so you cannot drive it. So now, so they thought that because of this policy, they thought that 50% of the emission they can control. But actually what happened, you see, people bought another car with another number. So that is what has happened in many cases, because people even also they don't have any consciousness about the Delhi pollution. So this odd even policy is a complete failure. So that is what after 1 or 2 years after the odd even policy, the Supreme Court called the Environmental Pollution Prevention Control Authority and asked what is the status of this, Delhi pollution after the odd even policy. So the pollution authority said that after the odd even policy, the particulate matter has rose by 30%. So that means it is not at all, it didn't work out at all. But anyway, they took many action, Graded Response Action Plan. So that is what GREAP. In that they try to control the Delhi pollution by various methods. So now after some point of time, by 2018-19, we came to know that in India, pollution, has gone beyond our hands, and that too, air pollution has gone beyond our hand. More than 12 lakh death has come because of air pollution. By 2017-18, a report from WHO, UNEP came to India that in India, more than 15 lakh death is going to happen because of air pollution. So India has to take, immediate action on air pollution. And apart from that, also, if you take the top 10 cities in the world, top 10 polluted city, in that 7 polluted city, top 10 la, 7 out of 10 polluted city is in India. In that, Kanpur has got a Guinness record for the most polluted city. So now this trend is going on. So immediately the government, BJP government that time decided that, okay, we have to control this pollution. So for that, they have adopted this Bharat Stage 6 norms. Bharat Stage 6 norms. Okay, so we'll take a break and then we'll see what is this Bharat Stage 6 norms in detail. Okay. See, certain things I will explain in the current affair. Okay, so we'll see after the break. So we'll take 30 minutes break and we'll see it.